Hey, Ed Paget here. Today we're going to be talking about that painful foot problem, plantar fasciitis. We're going to talk about the two main reasons that it comes, and I'm going to give you two simple exercises so that you can get rid of that pain in your foot. Okay, I'm just going to roll up my pant leg here just to show you why this happens. All right, so your foot has an arch, and that arch is generally up when you're either got no weight on your foot or even just when you're standing. But as we go forwards, the heel bone here, which is called the calcaneus, that goes down and in slightly, motion called pronation. It doesn't matter about the words. But that pronation ever so slightly unlocks the front of the foot. And you can test this on yourself. If you push your foot like out to the side like that and take your heel so it's pointing inwards and the outside is pointing outwards, and move your foot up and down, it's going to actually be quite stiff and rigid. But if you go the other way, push your foot so that this part of the heel goes inwards and move your foot up and down, it's going to move just that little bit more. And that's the difference between a foot that is adapting to what we walk on and a foot that is ready to propel us forwards. As we take a step forward, your heel goes down and in, which is pronation, and that opens up the foot so it can adapt to anything you walk over. But as the weight comes over the foot and begins to shift into the front, into the ball of your foot, then the heel will go the other way, supinate, that's the word, and it will become a stiff, more rigid lever so that you can push off without any loss of force. The trouble is, when your foot stays down and in and does not come up and out, well then the plantar fascia is going to try its best to pull the arch up to get that rigid lever to help you go forward, but eventually it's going to get strained. And so let's talk about the reasons this might happen. The first reason is going to be a really tight ankle. That ankle simply won't bend enough, so when you move forward, your foot collapses down to make up for the angle or the degrees that are missing in your ankle. Now, the second reason that this might happen is tight hips. Sometimes what happens is your hips get very, very tight from sitting too long, from not stretching, not exercising, and they end up not being able to internally rotate. Now, if a hip can't internally rotate and you have a tight ankle, then the body does something quite clever. It actually externally rotates the hips. Now, that allows you to walk forward, but it comes at a cost, and that cost is the arch will go down. So I'm going to show you two simple exercises, one to correct the ankle and one to correct your hip. All right, let's do the ankle first. All right, this sounds very, very easy. You're simply going to put your hands up against the wall and take the affected side backwards. So let's say I've got the plantar fasciitis on this side, then we're going to put this heel backwards. From here, I'm going to move my hips forwards, bending my front knee, and I'm going to feel a stretch in the back of my calf. Now you might say, yeah, I've done that before and it didn't really help. Some physio told me to stretch my calf because it's tight. Well, it won't help if you allow your foot to collapse down, because that is actually going to make things worse. The plantar fascia is going to get stretched. So what you want to do is take your foot and internally rotate it ever so slightly. From here, you can move your hips forwards and backwards. The movement is a stretch and a movement at the same time, so it lengthens and strengthens those muscles on the back of the leg. Now, for some of you, that may irritate your lower back, so it's okay to put your elbows onto the wall like this and move your hips forwards and backwards, trying to keep your heel on the ground, but also being aware that your arch should not collapse down. Or as my friend Coach Bam says, you don't want a flat tire. You know, where your foot goes down and in, that's a flat tire. We want a nice inflated tire with your arch up nice and high. Okay, but the body moves in 3 dimensions. So when we take a step forward, we actually rotate our hips from being this way to being this way. At the same time, this hip goes from being flexed to being extended. And at the same time, there's a little hip shift from left to right. So we need to acknowledge all of those motions because they all happen down at the ankle as well. So we've got the forwards and backwards going like this. Next, we want to take the bottom foot here and move it from far as right as I can to as far left as I can. Okay, so we're going to move that foot left and right. So from the behind, it looks like this. We're moving from left to right, like this. All the while keeping a stretch in the ankle. You're going to get a little stretch in your hip and you're going to get a little bit of core work as well. The last movement we want to do is rotation. And the way we're going to do that is actually we're going to lift that knee up as high as we can so it's parallel to the ground, and then rotate inwards and rotate outwards, rotate inwards and rotate outwards. This is going to get these muscles that come down the side of the ankle and really light those up in a good way. All right. So for some of you, that may not actually be the solution. It might be part of the solution. The next place we have to look at are the hips, because these tight hips are a problem. And so what we need to do here is work out a way to stretch those hips, but it looks very, very similar to the way we stretch the ankle. And the reason being is when we step forward here, we get a hip stretch and an ankle stretch at the same time. Okay, so we're going to get you into that position. One leg forward and the affected leg behind. If you have plantar fasciitis on both sides, you're going to do this on both sides. All right, we're in this position. We're going to take this hand up as far as we can. We're going to take this hand down as far as we can this way. And the person who showed me this stretch was Dr. Gary Gray, good friend of mine. And this is one of his 3D motion stretches for the hips. And I think it is absolutely brilliant. All right, so we're in this position. We're making sure that we don't have the flat tire on the back foot. We're sliding our hips forwards and backwards. The difference between this and the movement we've just done is you can let your heel come off the ground just a little bit. From here, we're going to then move the hips left and right. Okay, so from behind, it looks like this. I'm in this stretch position like this, and I'm going to move my hips left and right, all the while making sure my foot is not going into external rotation, turning outwards and causing that flat tire. So we've done forwards and backwards, we've done side to side. Lastly, we need to do rotation. All right, I want you to imagine your pelvis is like a steering wheel. You're going to grab hold of it like a big bus steering wheel, and you're going to move it left and right like this. Hands actually don't grab hold, the hands come up here like this, and then you're going to move your hips left and right, left and right. And so I'm trying to keep this forward stretch on, this sensation in the front of my hip, whilst adding in internal, external rotation to this hip joint. So I want you to go through those exercises for about 7 days. So 15 repetitions in each movement, do that a couple of times a day, and then leave a comment below and let me know how you got on. And hey, look, if you found value in this video, don't forget to click that like button and also subscribe, because the more subscribers I have, the more videos I can make and the more people I can reach. Plus, the next video might just be for you.